Now, we have with us two guests on our show today. We have Brij Mohan Srivastav. He's a spokesperson for the NCP. We also have Swapnil Kothari, who is a senior advocate. Both of them are here with us this morning to have a discussion on this entire story. Mr. Srivastav, I want to come over to you first. When we take a look at in particular, just what the Nashik commissariat, the police commissariat, has had to say. These are regulations that make it very clear that what they are trying to prevent is any kind of clash taking place between the two groups. Particularly when they've said, wait 15 minutes, stay away 100 meters. It does very much seem that they are trying to keep away any kind of clash taking place. I want to ask you, what stops, for instance, the NCP government or the government in Maharashtra from simply applying what is already put in Nashik to other commissariats across the state?
Actually, this decision is not taken only by the police commissioner Nashik. It is a clear-cut directives as per the Supreme Court order after 2005, and it is simply to regulate the noise law in the Maharashtra. This is the intention of our government, and on the same line, our government is working. Now the issue of Raj Thackeray ji is no more with in the mind of people, because the government is fully aware of the facts, and we have taken all things in the consideration. And as per the law, we will regulate. Our government will regulate each and every religious place or the using of the loudspeaker. It is not only related to the religious places. It is a use of the public addressing system at the public places. So it will be regulated as per the instruction of the Honorable Supreme Court, and as well as the noise law. So now I am sure, and I want to convey to all the peoples of the Maharashtra through your channel that it is not an issue to discuss, because the local administration will take steps to regulate the things. If anybody find that anybody is violating the law, they can go to the local administration, they can make the complaint there, and the concerning officer will take action against the concerning peoples. Madam, actually, I want to tell you, it is not a matter between the Raj Thackeray and the Maharashtra government. Raj Thackeray ji is used by the BJP because they are scoring with the AAP party. It is fight between the AAP party and the BJP. It is not related with the Maharashtra anyhow, because in last 22 last Vidhan Sabha election, AAP party has raised the issue that their workers shouted at the time of any meeting, Jai Bajrangbali, Jai Hanuman, and raising those nara, they gain the power in Delhi elections again. So now our party is moving towards the Gujarat and towards the Himachal Pradesh, and again they have started raising this issue. So it is a fight between the BJP and the our party. It is not related with Maharashtra and other things. It's correct that the Raj Thackeray is used by the BJP.
Mr. Srivastav, just stay with us for a second. I want to come back to you to hear more on that. But just for a second, because we are obviously speaking still about the loudspeaker issue, I want to go over to Senior Advocate Swapnil Kothari for just a second and ask him for more details over here. Mr. Kothari, right now we've seen Mr. Srivastav talk a little bit about the Supreme Court order when it's come to the entire story around noise pollution. Just for our audiences, because you are a Senior Advocate, could you tell us a little bit more about the laws that already exist? And then my second question to you is, this issue that is cropping up in state after state, Maharashtra being the most recent, is this because government bodies and the police aren't enforcing laws that already exist? Where does the gap exist?
Well, Toya, the Supreme Court in 2005 has been extremely clear about the usage of the loudspeakers. It's to be used at a certain decibel level. You just can't play it at the highest decibel level, depending on, the ambient standards. That's the language that they've used. It depends upon where you're using it and for what purposes also you're using it. So that is the key aspect. It's not just the blanket use of loudspeakers, it's where and for what purpose. That is exactly how the Supreme Court has phrased its judgment. And then thereafter, the Bombay High Court and several other high courts have also dealt with this issue in a slew of judgments, where they have obviously followed the Supreme Court judgment and decided that this is how the loudspeaker issue has to be tackled. Because otherwise what happens is that it then tends to violate the fundamental rights of the people who want to practice, profess and propagate religion under Article 25. But then at the same time, Article 25 is subject to the constraints of Article 14, which is equality before the law, and of course, the restrictions, the reasonable restrictions that are Article 19, and even embedded under Article 25, which says they're subject to public order and morality. Now, obviously, here the public order will be the issue because you just can't play it at a blaring level. Now, as far as this particular directorate, this order of Nashik commissariat is concerned, it's a very, very convenient order that has come out in view of Mr. Raj Thackeray's statements made, because by 3rd of May, when he said that this is not done, we'll start playing Hanuman Chalisa. So obviously they're saying that by 3rd of May, you'll have to fetch the requisite permission. So obviously it's targeted indirectly at people who want to flout those orders or supposedly flout these orders. Now, the point is, Toya, that all this, religious animosity or so-called religious hullabaloo aside, what is the key here is that the rule of law must be followed. Now, 15 minutes before and 15 minutes after you don't play that, that's absolutely fine. But then what stops them from playing at blaring levels at 15 minutes before and 15 minutes after? Isn't that going to foment religious fanaticism at either end? So that's not going to, solve the problem. Sure. What solves the problem in a democracy like this is maturity at certain levels. But now that is not going to take place given the fact that these sort of loudspeakers emanating from mosques or even for that matter anywhere, I don't know whether they're, played at blaring levels in Hindu, festivals as well. Those seem not to have been made an issue of as far as this, which is made an issue. So we'll tackle with this. This is definitely an impediment to, your right to peaceful life, which is enshrined under Article 21, and that supersedes, because that is exactly what the Supreme Court looked at when it looked at Article 21 first. It said that your right to life is paramount, and below that, all these other rights of religion, etc., come into play. Now, your second question as to whether or not this is not going to, whether this is going to lead to any political upheavals or this nature, and whether there is, some sort of a political hand. Politics is never ever divorced from, any of the things that take place in this country. And even if it isn't, then politics somehow tries to get its step in and then try to either dislodge the government or either to, parley to the government or to appease the minorities or to, appease the majority. So here, what is most important is that, again, this matter will go to the courts as far as I can see it. And eventually the court will have to come down heavily again and, clearly lay down the law once more or, reiterate the law and say that, look, this is what we've laid. Now it's up to the state administration to decide. And because the law and order is a state subject, and then it depends upon the spine of the state.
Mr. Srivastava, thank you so much for joining us. And also, sir, right here to you, Mr. Kothari, thank you so much for explaining that for our audiences so beautifully when it does come to those laws. For our audiences, we have been talking in specific about Maharashtra, and I want to play out for you what the Maharashtra Home Minister, Dilip Walse Patel, has had to say about the controversy. This is right before, as you remember, they're about to have a meeting to have this entire conversation. Take a look.